I'm sorry. אבל אני לא רואה אותו טוב, זה הבעיה. תזיז את עולה קצת יותר לפה. אני לא אוהב את חגי. משם עוד.
You don't want to give it a corner angle? Any corner angle, no? It's not good?
רק רואה את המסך ככה, לא רואה את שיהיה מספיק. אוקיי. By the way, can you lower it?
It was good.
It was good? אוקיי, קיבל עליו, אוקיי. So, let's start the Gemara. תולדה דרגן מהי? נגיפה, נשיכה, רביצה ובעיטה. מה ישנה נגיחה בקרי לאב? Why נגיחה it's called אב? דכתיב כי ייגע. נגיפה נמי כתיב כי יגוף. So let's get נגיפה to be an av by itself. And so the Gemara לא, האי נגיפה, נגיחה היא, באמת is the same thing. How do we know? דתניא פתח הכתוב בנגיפה וסיים בנגיחה. Why? לומר לך, זוהי נגיפה, זוהי נגיחה. So the reason the pasuk start off the parasha of בהמה by כי גוף, and it conclude כי נגחו, to teach you that זוהי נגיפה, זוהי נגיחה. It's the same thing. But the Gemara bother, if it's the same thing, מה ישנה גבי אדם דכתיב כי ייגח? If it's the same thing, why did you change the terminology? by באדם we use כי ייגח, and מה ישנה גבי בהמה דכתיב כי יגוף? Says the Gemara, we have a reason for it. אדם דאית למזלה כתיב כי ייגח. בהמה דלת למזלה כתיב כי יגוף. So Adam, it's different. It has mazal. It's a different terminology to the action. ומילתא גבור חקו משמלן. And by the way, we're teaching you something on the side. דמועד לאדם, אב ומועד לבהמה. ומועד לבהמה, לא אב ומועד לאדם. So a few questions, some basics. We assume that the Gemara asks, let's say we have another Av that's called Negifa. The Gemara answer, no. Negifa it's same as Negicha, as the Tanya פתח הכתוב בנגיפה וסיים בנגיחה. Shaila is, we had an Ava Amina that Negifa is something else, נכון? It's going to be Av. When we didn't know what Negicha means, when the Mishnah used, the Torah used, the terminology of Negicha, we said, you know what Negicha means? Negicha means, from Tzidkiah we're learning, or from Yosef. Which means we're not coming with our own explanation what Negicha means. We're just getting it from the Pasuk. The Gemara here assume, let's call Negifa. What's Negifa? How do you know what's Negifa to call it the Av by itself?
We knew that Negicha was Keren was that the Negicha was an Av. We didn't know what it was.
But in order to understand what Negicha was, we had psukim for it.
Keren.
So what Negicha, Kigach.
Keren,
Kigach. So if you understand that Kigach is also Keren, so bring me psukim for it.
Or you could say you don't need a pasuk for that reason.
So if I don't need a pasuk, why by Negicha I need a pasuk?
Because you need some basis to say this is the
No, but this is two different words.
You can't say Tolda without any.
But it's two different words. This is Negicha, and this is Kilgov. On the Ava Amine, it's two different Av, nachon? So that's something else. What is that? So if you haven't, that means there is a possibility to explain it as something else. So what's the answer of the Gemara? No, פתחת כתוב בנגיפה וסיים בנגיחה to teach you, just close the door, to teach you that it's the same thing. What do you mean the same thing? How do you know it's the same thing? If you have an Ava Amina Negifa means something else.
Can't you use that as a ride that is why it's the same thing? Because Negicha has a reference point.
But since in
that's
the
why
Ava
the other one doesn't need a reference point because it's the same thing.
But on the Ava Amina we thought Negifa, let's start with Ava Amina. Negifa means something else, nachon? Give me psukim, what Negifa means. The Gemara just answered, by the way, is not an Av by itself because we see it's connected to Negicha. But that means there is a psukim for it. That means nothing is logic over here. If nothing is logic, you need psukim. Why we don't bring any pasuk for negifa? That's question number one.
All we wanted to do is connect
Ki gof
Negicha to Karen.
Huh?
We wanted to connect Negicha to Karen, and that's why we did the pasuk.
Of reference.
No, because we need to have information. You need to know negicha בכלל.
By Negicha, you need to bring the pasuk.
How do you know ki gof means lingov?
Reference point.
We have
Because of the catch.
On the Ava Mina, no. On the Ava Mina, Gemara understood that it's some, מה זה?
Right, it thought
מה זה לגוף? How do you know?
גוף.
How do you know? אולי זה נשיקה שכואבת, מי אומר, אי אפשר. No, but you want it to be Av cannot be כללי. Everything that happened has a detail.
But you have a pasuk, ki gof, and the word gof means with the goof.
מי אמר לך?
It's not strong enough. It needs
לא,
for some reason. it
גם
needs
כתוב
another
כי
pasuk.
גח. כי גח זה עם קרניים.
I
לא, צריך פסוק.
We know Negicha is an Av without
No,
Tzidkiyah.
זה גמרא בנים צודקים.
so
We
I'll
only
have,
bring it down to connect Karen.
No, we don't know בכלל זה נגיחה, אני לא נגיחה. היה סליטינה באלה תנגח את
I'll
הרם.
have in the Havamina, meaning we have a pasuk for Vichi Igach, right? Explaining that Igach means Keren. You're bothered by the fact that you should have, at least in the Havamina, presented a pasuk that shows
Exactly,
me that
meaning-
Keren means Negifa.
Right,
Meaning that's where you're bothered. We don't have a pasuk for
And-
Yigach.
right.
I mean for
Oh, you don't
Negifa,
have-
like
you're
for
saying you
Yigach.
don't have a
Okay.
pasuk of Negifa that correlates to anything else?
Exactly. And you wanted to give it to Av
In the
itself
pasuk,
without
the
any
fact-
basis to it.
So I'm asking in the pasuk the fact that it mentions
ימות,
this
אולי
action
maybe
of
give him,
Negifa,
it's a hug,
and the
big
per-
hug.
a hug that killed a guy?
Yeah. Did you ever get hug from a cow? That's what you like, see?
הכי גוף זה לבהמה.
Huh?
הכי גוף זה לבהמה. הכי גח זה לאיש.
That's in the answer.
לא, לא.
But in the Ava meaning, we don't know the difference. Meaning,
פסוק.
כן.
He says adas for shema.
yeah, but maybe something else happened in בהמה.
You never even needed the
So
pasuk.
Rashi
Okay,
brings that
weiter.
down.
You needed the pasuk for ki
Rashi
gash.
says more than that. You should say Negifa should be the Av, Negicha should be the Tolda.
That's
So
what
you
Ava
can't
meaning,
say
right,
that.
right.
You said you can't say that. But
But
you said-
you never even needed the tzidkiyah pasuk to teach you ki gash.
So what do we need it for?
And you're asking on the Havamina, oh, we,
Well,
just
why
for
you
ki
don't need the
gof, we
pasuk?
needed
Why
tzidkiyah.
don't need tzidkiyah?
Because that's why it tells you that it was only the Tanakh Shah.
No. We need a Gilu Milta to know what does that mean. We just said it's a Gilu Milta be'alma that the meaning of this action is negicha. Okay, next one.
The Rashi that says that we learn Avod from Sukkim doesn't say that you need a pasuk to also explain what the damage is. It just needs a pasuk to tell you that there is
For
a
the
damage.
action. For the action. Shen, what is Shen? Neve, Mave, we try to understand. We need an action, pasuk for the action. Let's go weiter. The Gemara asks, then the Gemara says, by the way, Milte, Agav Orche, Kamash Malan. So before that, the Gemara answer, Adam it lemazala, it's called ki yigach. Ema delet lemazala, it's called ki yigo. Shkoyach. Meaning, why do we need to have different names? One for negicha and one for negifa. Why the mazal? It's a reason to create a new name for it. Keep the same name, the same thing we have beita by Adam and beita by Bema, by Shor. Keep the same thing.
Because it makes it
Even
clear.
beita by Adam, mazala takes effect. Mazala should make a difference even by Adam. Because if a Shor is boed by Adam, he has mazala, he's alert, he can jump over, you see on the eyes of the animal, versus Behemot has no mazal. Why the mazala? It's a factor to give it two different names. But I want to work the real a little bit deeper. The Gemara says, "Umilte agavorche kamash malan." I want to teach you something. Please close the door. Close the door. The Gemara says, "Umilte agavorche kamash malan." I want to teach you something. By the way, muad la'adam is not muad la'behema. That means that there is a different teaching over here. The agav orche is muad la'adam is muad la'behema. That's agav orche. What's the main teaching over here? Mazla no mazla, big deal shkoyach. Meaning, why the difference in the mazal is the biggest limud, and agavorche is muad la'adam, no muad la'behema.
You asked
I
two
would
questions.
You would have thought the opposite.
Can you go
no,
one
but,
que- you
but
asked-
it's really
so
the
which-
same. Meaning,
So can you ask it as one question?
you're
So
saying that muad la'adam, the reason we call nagach and nagav because one has mazal, one has no mazal. So the shaila is, okay, so he has no mazal. What's the big deal?
how can you explain? How can you understand muad l'adam, muad l'behema? You need a.
No, זה הגבוכה. Hold on, that's what I'm saying.
No, if
When the
you don't
Gemara
know- if you
says,
don't know
when the
Mazda,
Gemara said,
you
let me
can't
explain it,
learn
let me
that.
explain it more, I didn't fully explain it the way I wanted. When the Gemara says מועד לאדם, אגב אורך כמשמע לן, that מועד לאדם, מועד לבהמה, that's not the main reason the Torah says כי יגח and כי יגוף. That's אגב אורך. You're learning, since we have two different names, we know מועד לאדם is not מועד לבהמה. But the biggest חידוש of the Torah is, what the Torah is teaching you, that אדם יש לו מזל, and therefore I call כי יגח, and בהמה לק למזל, that's why it's called כי יגוף. Why it's so important?
What do you mean?
סליחה, אדם כי יגח and בהמה כי יגוף.
How would you learn? How would you even learn muad l'adam, muad l'behema if
But
you
that's
don't
אגב
know
אורחי,
Mazda?
no, but hold on, Shlomo, again, you're not listening. אגב אורחי means, that's not the important teaching.
Right. The important teaching is what? Mazda.
Yeah, what's
Without that
important?
ikar, without that ikar, you can't learn anything else.
No. If the important message is that muad l'adam is not,
Then it wouldn't be Agav Orche.
is not אגב אורחי, that's the message. If the
No,
only
that
enough
teaches you
meaning,
Mazda. It teaches you the payments.
Yeah.
if the
Without that, you
only,
can't know the payments.
what do you mean?
Okay, so
Okay,
what's
if
the
you
first?
if
Which one is the din?
muad
The
l'behema,
din
right?
is
Without Mazda, you wouldn't know how much.
Again,
you
so
charge
the reason the Torah says mazla or lo mazla, to teach me
From the
that muad l'adam is
side
not
thing.
muad l'behema. To teach me that's din, so it's not אגב אורחי.
There's the din.
The Torah says, the Gemara says it's Agav Orche, that's not the main teaching.
That's
The
the
din
ikar.
is.
No, the Gemara didn't say. The Gemara says Agav Orche.
How did we get there?
No, but Agav Orche means it's something else. By the way,
That's muad l'adam, muad l'behema.
it's Agav Orche, that's not the main part of the teaching.
How would I get?
Right. The main part is the Mazda.
But one of Kemines, why? For. Why? That's not Agav Orche, that's the whole Kiddush of the Torah. It's not Agav Orche.
That's not what he's saying. Mazda, not Mazda. That's
It's a side point.
Yeah, but what's the
more of a
Kiddush?
Kiddush.
What's the Kiddush? Mine of
more
Kemines.
common sense.
Mine of Kemine. What's the Kiddush about it? Who cares Mazla, no Mazla? The same payments. Everything's the same. Everything's the same. Right?
No, you would think if he's muad l'adam and he and
No, but if you use this,
he's
the
muad
Torah,
l'adam and then he goes and hits l'behema.
okay,
He's
no.
not going to pay chetzi nezer. He's not going to pay for nezer.
So again, you're saying the chidush muad ladam and no muad labehema. That's not a gavoche. That's the main chidush. Why the Gemara says gavoche?
Without Mazda, you can't learn
I
it now.
understand,
That's
but
why
if
it's the
you also-
ikar. How are you going to learn the side thing without the ikar?
Not milte agavoche komashmala. It should say the
Which is the
komashmala.
bigger
How can you
Kiddush?
learn? How can you
No, you
learn
did
that?
it. But the
That's the ikar.
yeah,
That's the ikar.
but the lo ikar. Ikar
You would
means
never even get
I'm
to
learning
it.
something else, and on the side I'm learning from it something. But no, what's the main thing I'm learning? What's the main thing I'm learning?
Rabbi.
Who cares mazla?
Why not?
Who cares מה זה לא מה זה? עכשיו יש לו אף גדול ואף שחור. Who cares מה זה מה זה?
That's a kiddush.
For what?
For payments.
Okay, that's אגב אורחה, so that's the mean, it's not אגב אורחה.
אולי ניתן איזה דוגמה.
That's also a point with the Gemara makes it very big.
דברים שמה בערים. זה אגב
מה הדוגמה? יש לך דוגמה? אתה רוצה שאני אמציא.
זה הדוגמה.
מה הדוגמה?
All he's saying is just for one
Oh, very good, very good, very good. Okay, Ami saying good. Shlomo Tishma. The Gemara in Brocha says, first time in Brochas, and also in the Fayim in Yerushalmi. First time it says that מתי הכהנים נכנסים לאכול בתרומתם, מתי זמן קריאת שמע בערבית? משעה שהכהנים נכנסים לאכול בתרומתם. So I want to teach you, the main thing is to teach you when is the time to do קריאת שמע. אגב, אוכל כמשמע לה, כהנים כפרה לא מעכבת. But the main thing I'm teaching you main, and there is something that comes out from the main.
That's
But
giving
here, there is no main.
That's
What
giving me a
comes
side
out
point.
is the same thing.
That's giving me a side point.
That's a
Saying
side
Tzeitek
point.
Chochavim.
That's a side.
But
The main learning is that Kriyat Shema, no, not the side, no, that's the teaching. The Agav Orche that Kohanim are allowed to toivel before.
Can I ask a question? This is the way I think it is. The way I understand it.
That's right.
When the Gemara says Miltan Agav Orcha, it makes it seem like the second, the point they're trying to bring out from that, it's not as important as the first point.
Exactly, בדיוק.
So saying, the
דבר זה שלמה, אני מסכים איתך, שלמה.
the Gemara should have said,
Without Mazda, you would never even say this.
wait, the Gemara should have said,
very good, huh?
like something else instead, I guess. Meaning, we have the second part, Miltan Agav Orcha, and we say, Muad Adam lo having Muad Lebehema, we have a whole spot about it. He makes such a big deal out of it. It makes it seem like there's no importance about it. That's what you're saying, right?
מצוין.
You obviously have to
Okay,
say
guys,
this way, Maz.
weiter,
Wait.
weiter,
Last
weiter,
thing.
weiter, weiter. This is already סיבובים.
This is
a good
like
time.
Next silent. There is a
So what's the
famous...
question, Vasil? We're just talking. There's no. We're trying to explain. There's
Why
no-
the Gemara
I wrote
says-
it down. I just want to make sure I got it
Why
correct.
it's called Agavoche, which the only nafkamina is the reason we said Adam שיש לו מזל כי יגח and בהמה כי יגח, to teach you what? את מועל אדם is not מועל לבהמה. That's the teaching. That's not Agavoche, כל משמע לא.
Okay.
And the famous Gemara in Daf Mu. Daf Mu, the Gemara says, עומר רב שמואל בר נחמני, מניין למוציא מחברו עליו הראייה. How do you know המוציא מחברו עליו הראייה? שנאמר דף מ"ו עמוד ב' באמצע. I'm just going through for the main thing. שנאמר מבעל דברים ייגש אליהם, יגיש ראייה אליהם. The Pasuk said, you gotta come and bring ראייה to Beis Din. מתקיף לרבשי, למה לקרא? סברה הוא. It's logic. דקייב לקייבה, אזי לביה אסיה. The one has a problem and goes to the doctor, נכון? You want to claim money from somebody, you go to Beis Din. We have a rule, anything that comes out of Svara, you don't need a pasuk. Open דף ל"ז.
ראשי תיבות.
You can't use a puzzle.
Huh?
It's not that you need a puzzle.
זה לשור זיכרונו לברכה במועד. ליאור זמורה, סליחה, לא זה ליאור. The Gemara said, משנה, שור שהוא מועד למינו, ואינו מועד לשאינו מינו. ידע, משנה מועד לאדם, ואינו מועד לבהמה. מועד לקטנים, ואינו מועד לגדולים. עת שהוא מועד לו משלם נזק שלם, ועת שאינו מועד לו משלם חצי נזק. קלאסיק. Why מועד לקטנים is not מועד לגדולים?
Size?
One can protect itself, whereas the other can't.
Size, everything. So meaning, do you need posuk for that? It's foreign, נכון? מועד לקטנים, שנו לגדולים. Why, what's it between אדם ולבהמה? אדם יכול לשמור את עצמו, נכון? בהמה לא יכול לשמור את עצמו. Why do I need a posuk for it? It's logic. למה לקרא סבורה הוא? It's easy סבורה. מועד לאדם shouldn't be מועד לבהמה. Two different things. Same thing, מועד לחמור is not מועד לגמל. מה, אדם הוא לא חמור? וזה ספרדי, אשכנזי, arguing who's going to be the חמור of the Mashiach. So Ashkenazi said, man, אני יותר לבן, you know, I'm white, I should be the חמור. ספרדי says, אני יותר חמור, you know? the חמור of the Mashiach. So, I mean, חמור and גמל, obviously, everybody understand, מועד לחמור is not מועד לגמל. So, מועד לאדם, is not מועד לשור. What do you need a posuk for all this? מה קורה פה בכלל? למה לקרא? סבורה הוא.
חידוש התוספות.
Let's see Tosfos. ומילתא הגבוה כמה שמלן. The famous Tosfos. So, I don't need to get a chance to go through Rashi, maybe the next year or we'll go weiter. But this is now, we'll focus now on Tosfos. מילתא הגבוה כמה שמלן. So the way Tosfos learned, and it seems to be not as consistent as I expect him to be, because by Yavan Mechuberet, only the Tosfot Rosh said that our sugya is according to Rav Papa. Interesting. Tosfos was okay to learn a sugya not according to Rav Papa, legabe Parganiska Knasa, and here he demanded the sugya to be davka according to a Papa.
Shach first or no?
No. Tosfos. Said Tosfos, ואפילו לרב פאפה, דאמר לקמן, we have a problem. We said, מילתא הגבוה חמש מלן. מועד לאדם is not מועד לבהמה. But Rav Papa says לקמן, דאמר לקמן בשור שנגח 4 ו5, דמועד לאדם סתמה, לא הווה מועד לבהמה. So how can we say here מועד לאדם, הווה מועד לבהמה? Seemingly this is Rav Papa. היינו דווקא שנגח ג' בני אדם, he figured 3 בני אדם, מובן, why it's not מועד לבהמה. דבאחי לא הווה מועד לבהמה. It's not considered as מועד לבהמה. אבל נגח אדם ושור וחמור, דהווה ג' מינים. הווה מועד לכל. חידוש of the Torah, that if הוא נגח 3 different type of מינים, is considered מועד לכל. אבל נגח שור וחמור וגמל, לא הווה מועד לאדם. If you grow 3 types of animal, he's not מועד לאדם. If you grow אדם,
But he is muad of all those animals.
all those animals. But if he's מועד לאדם, שור, מה הוא שם עם אדם? שור וחמור, right? אני דין שוט הזאת גמלים. שור וחמור, ואף על גב לכל בהמה הווה מועד. So the first חילוק of תוספות is, באמת מועד לאדם is not מועד לבהמה. למה? כי מועד לאדם it's a different type of, נכון? יש לו מזל, it's different. Therefore, מועד לבהמה is not also מועד לאדם. The only case we learn that מועד לאדם will be מועד לבהמה, if it's good, אדם, בהמה, אדם, שור וחמור. If אדם, it's a different category, נכון? If you combine with שור וחמור, it's like אם הוא נגח שור חמור ותרנגולת. And a rooster. You're gonna say that's creating a חזקה?
Well, for
Common
what?
sense.
תרנגול?
For what?
Common sense, yes.
תרנגול, זה
for
לא
what?
קשור, אה? That is נוגח everybody.
Like you said, common sense. If I see an animal doing the same act 3 different times, regardless of what it is, common sense, it's a goring animal.
Well, maybe it doesn't.
So
But human,
Are you-
human we say,
Are you-
human means it's a different type בכלל.
Different means.
different mean. יש שור, חמור, גמל, בהמה ויש אדם. No, the כוזרי, obviously. כוזרי says we have, there are a few levels. You have חי, you have דומם,
היהודי.
דומם,
כן.
צומח, חי מדבר יהודי. חיים בברית says, and בן תרא. The difference between דומם to חי, also between יהודי to, no, so כוזרי says, yeah, חי, לא, דומם, צומח, חי, אדם, יהודי, מדבר יהודי, and what's going to say is בן תרא. So, if Adam, it's all different, Adam, it's all different categories. So how can Teifes learn בכלל that Adam can join בהמה? Adam מת למזלה. It's 2 different type of people. Meaning it's a person which clearly has different type of categories. Why that will create a chazaka? מה מוישה? אדם, שור וחמור, why that create everybody bother? Why that create chazaka? If Adam is a different thing, he cannot join to the 3.
Can we also ask why we assume that? Because when it says over here, שור חמור וגמל, לא הווה מועד לאדם, why would I even think it'd be מועד לאדם? When he's not even part of the equation.
You say מועד
Meaning it's not even שייך to say לו מועד
לא,
לאדם.
זה חידוש של תתאם מוקד. אתה יודע מחדש, מועד לבהמה, it's not מועד לאדם, it's 2 different things.
But you have 3 מינים, and then קובץ לא הווה מועד לאדם, זה ברור.
לא, זה חידוש של תורה. Since אדם it's different, it's not מועד לאדם. But now, if it's different, why אדם can join שור וחמור?
Because
That's the Kiddush of the Torah.
No.
we can't say that. From here we learn that the animal is, he already has gored 3 times, and now he's not discriminatory towards anything, meaning anything that's in his path.
No, but again, I mean, that's the simple
That's
shot to
logic.
say, that's simple shot, but if you know Adam it's different, it's not the raya.
Why can't you see that?
Can I answer a question about why we need the pasuk if we have logic?
Yes.
So if you, based on your other question, you said why does it say agav orche? So you can answer with that. Say that the pasuk is not teaching you something that you could have learned out from logic. It's teaching you adam isle mazla behema lisle mazla. Agav orche.
But במזל זה not mazla, it's logic.
The man can protect himself.
That is. You're
That's
saying,
a
so I don't need the pasuk to teach me that.
Okay, והרב רבינו מנחם פירש, ואחי כאמר. מועד לאדם means שהיה מועד לכל. I just want to clarify things, I think some misunderstanding. How מועד לאדם became מועד לכל? Because הוא נגח אדם 3 פעמים, and then נגח בהמה 3 פעמים. That's how he became מועד לכל. הוא היה מועד לכל.
Why can't you say he was
Huh? I think he's saying דווקא not like the pshat over there. So, באמת מועד לאדם is not מועד לבהמה. But here we're talking about היה מועד לכל, וחזר בו מבהמה, stop guarding only animals, ונשאר מועד לאדם, since he stays עדיין מועד לאדם, הווה מועד לבהמה, it will remain מועד to the בהמה. אבל דחזרה דבהמה, לאו חזרה, you cannot be חוזר only from בהמה. Since he remains מועד for אדם, he stays מועד. אבל מועד לכל, if he was מועד to everybody. וחזרה מהאדם, he was חוזר from אדם only, then it's a good חזרה. לא הווה מועד לאדם, וחזרה דאדם חזרה היא. So, this was Rabbeinu Menachem saying that he's מועד לכל. If he's חוזר from בהמה, he's not חזרה, since he's still מועד for אדם. If he's חוזר from אדם, it's still considered as a מועד לבהמה, but it's not מועד anymore for אדם. And obvious cash everybody bother. You have to be consistent. If it's together, if חזרה is work for one, should work either way, either for Adam or from בהמה. If it doesn't work, be consistent. Even חזרה from Adam is not going to work for בהמה. What's the way to distinguish between Adam and בהמה? I want to share with you what I thought to say and why it doesn't work. Why? Because it's good, you know? It's good. So I need to think on before analyzing it with me together. And the following. באמת, אדם אית למזלה. What מזלה means?
Guardian
יהיה
angel.
סייעתא דשמיא, כן. כי מלאך וסבי לך לשמורך חוד דרך.
That's just that.
Right? That's ט"ו פשט. So, על האדם יש לו מזל, מישהו משמיים שומר אותו. Therefore, if אדם אית למזלה,
חזקה
if a shore was girding נוגח אדם, that means that Adam didn't have mazal, נכון? That's not going to make him muad for behema, because the behema is a different type. It's an animal. If it's muad also for Adam, for behema, the Adam becomes to the level of behema. So therefore, muad la-Adam only is not muad la-behema. Because why Adam was girded? Because he didn't have mazal. Misken, you know?
Of course he had mazal.
But
He just failed.
he didn't have mazal. No. If you have mazal, is mazal kipshuto. If a shore matzliach, so he didn't have mazal. Then, therefore, he's not muad la behema because you didn't have mazal. What's connection to animal? When he becomes muad la behema, that shows that Adam has no mazal. Is like an animal. So therefore, there is muad for Adam and behema together. If it's chazara from behema, it's not a chazara. Lama? There is another behema he wasn't chazar from. From who? From the Adam that is behema.
They call him Adam or Behema.
After he girded behema, it shows that Adam is same as behema. Adam yesh lo mazala. Adam has mazal, נכון? That means he's above behema. If you nagach, that means המזל שלו ירד.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
That's a mazal pshat. However, it's been mazala.
It only means he showed
He's
mazal.
good,
I mean, he
doesn't
tried
take
to run
away
away, but if he's not
No, but again, no,
mazal,
but-
why does it mean he's not mazal?
You're talking about the pshat that he can avoid from it. That's the second pshat on Rashi. Mazala means some מישהו שומר עליו, מלאך שומר עליו. So this guy אין לו מזל. הוא לא יתפלל טוב בבוקר. So yeah, אין לו מזל. עולם הרי כבדו מכובדים, וילך תחת דבקנו.
שיש
So
לו
אין לו
דעת,
מזל.
שיש לו דעת,
לא,
שיש לו
זה שני אחים, צדיק.
What's-
So, if he said אדם שאין לו דעת, so again, אז האדם שאין לו, if he gored סתם אדם, אוקיי, לא היה לו מזל, that doesn't mean he's מועד לבהמה. But if he gored בהמה, that shows that אדם הוא כמו בהמה, they get to the same level. If he's חוזר מבהמה, it's not enough חזרה for אדם. But vice versa, if he was able to חוזר only from אדם and not from בהמה, meaning אדם גאת is מזל, but there is a shmira on him, then he's not anymore in the category of behema. So he's chozer from Adam, and the shore will remain the mu'at for behema.
לא יכולים לימוד לאדם.
מה אתה אומר?
לא יכולים לימוד לאדם.
מה הכוונה לימוד לאדם?
כל אדם, אני אומר שהוא בחזקת שמירה, עד שהוא לקח אותו, ואז זה לא בחזקת שמירה, אתה לא יכול...
לא, אז זה מועד לאדם, כי אין להם שמירה.
לאנשים יש שמירה. אז הבן אדם הזה אין לו שמירה.
לא, זה הבעיה בפשט. זה הבעיה בפשט. Okay, but you didn't get the problem yet, yeah? By the way, it's a good introduction to the concept. So, muad le'adam means
These guys are cool, they like them as bלי דעת.
interesting. The Gemara talks about happy people. It's Ta'anit Daf Chavbet. שתי כורדים, כן? Chavbet. The Gemara talks about the Gemara talks about מרוקאים עצבנים. זה נדרים דף כ"ב. זה האפטית, נכון?
מה הסימן?
כ"ב, no, it's the same daf of Kurdim, of דף כ"ב by שמחה, בגמרא אליהו הנביא, with the two ליצנים, the same דף כ"ב in נדרים, but the opposite about Moroccan. So, how do we get to it? אמרת כורדי, okay. So going back, so אדם שיש לו מזלה means, אדם has a mazal is protected. Since it's called protected, therefore, if you got GERD, doesn't mean that behema will get GERD. But as soon as behema got GERD, it's behema will be similar to Adam. Adam becomes behema. And therefore, chazara of behema will not be chazara. Okay, try to understand, even though you know it's not the real pshat. Because I think it's important for the future, for the Baitan. The chiluk between Adam and behema.
The Gemara says that itle mazla for an Adam. It doesn't say that just because it gets gored, it doesn't have mazal.
Less mazal, you're right, less mazal. You're right, but less mazal.
Also,
Because you got gored, מה?
Even less, Rabbi,
No,
even less mazal.
He did an עבירה.
הוא אומר שהאדם יש לו מזל תפי.
תפי.
more.
יותר מזל. אז יש לו יותר ויש לו פחות, כן.
אם אתה גם משמעות שלו פחות. היה לו, he had 4 out of 4, now he has 1 out of 4.
Yeah.
25% mazal.
Yפה.
He still has mazal, and the behema doesn't have mazal.
Yeah, but when
Does that make
when
sense?
we see that he gores also animals,
Okay, but that never puts the
actually
Adam in
one
the
thing,
same.
should I put
same
effort to
level.
explain it or should I move to the real pshat?
Huh? Explain it. Explain it.
No, so the biggest issue of this pshat is what Rabbi Eliyahu amar. That all works if the mazala is the approach of the animal on the Adam. But mazal is for Adam himself. So although for 3 people didn't have mazal, maybe somebody else has mazal. So we cannot say that he's losing mazal, losing his status. Because you have more people with mazal. Ma, oh, kurdi, oh, kurdi, ma. So you have 3 other people with mazal, and therefore that doesn't work. So whatever why it doesn't work, right? I'm sorry for it.
No, we could add, it says when somebody sins, that Tselem Elohim leaves him. That's why the animals try to mount a human being. They try to...
That's a less mazal, very good.
And Ramazan.
Right. So that's the problem with this pshat, because for tzaddik, he will have mazal, right? So rather, we must say that mazal and not mazal, it's not something individual, it's a general concept of Adam. So, in order to understand the pshat, I went through a lot. I went through maybe 6 ways to answer. And I got to the final one, and I hope it will be accepted. So let's look at the Torah. We're coming from the Torah. The Torah describes someone who's nogach v'chigach shor et ish v'met sakol yisakel hashem. So, lingach adam, first time, how do you call it? Negicha, v'chigach. Then, ואם שור נגח הוא מתמול שלשום, איך קוראים לו? נגח. Both of them, the names is נגיחה. First time and last.
Last or second?
מה אתה אומר?
Second or last?
After 3 times.
Second.
You said first is negicha, second is negicha,
Any
but then you
kind,
said last.
yeah.
So which one?
Yeah, anytime. By Adam, even the first נגיחה or after 3 times, always the name is נגח. By animal, it has 2 different names. For the first time, וחיגוף שור איש את שור רעהו ומת. So the first time it's called נגיפה. Second time it's called what? או נוגע קישור, third time, I'm sorry. Third time, או נוגע קישור נגח ומתמול שלשום. So after 3 times it's called נגח. So we have 4 stages. Adam first and Adam after 3 times. Behema first and Behema after 3 times. Adam even first time is Nagach. Second time is, after 3 times is also Nagach. Behema first time it's something that's Itzigof Bechlal, but 3rd time is Nagach. So putting it together you see, Nagach, thank you. So putting it together you see that the Nagach of animal after 3 times eventually combined with Negicha of a person, of human being. The only time animal is not similar to human being, it's only
First and second.
for the first time, first and second, it's called Nagaf. The difference between Negicha and Negifa, Rashi says, the Negicha means something harsh, noten barosh. Negicha means something, Negifa means something, Rashi said, softer, נכון?
מעט.
מעט. That was in the Ava Amine, נכון? נגיפה is not. Now, למשכונה, that נגיפה it's נגיחה, meaning what? That what's נגיפה means? Exact the same thing as?
שווים ותיקון עיניים.
Right,
נגיחה.
the same thing as נגיחה, נכון? So, why it's called נגיפה? If it's exact same thing as נגיחה,
That's not exact.
According to that.
We just said we're saying it's lighter.
yeah, but so on the Ava Amine we understood terminology נגיפה it's
No, I mean in the
yeah,
Gemara.
it's lighter, it's lighter. Right, so the more I came for with understanding נגיפה it's lighter, נגיחה it's harder. When you conclude that נגיפה and נגיחה are the same thing, that means both of them are harder. נכון?
Right.
If both of them are harder, why it's called נגיפה?
It's not, because
What's
Negifa,
according to that?
Negifa
No,
can
but
be
the
two
same thing, no,
categories.
but by מתכון of the גמורה, בתחת כתוב בנגיפה, בסיים בנגיחה, זוהי נגיפה, זוהי נגיחה. So that means,
But Negifa,
no, good.
the Negifa, when he uses the keren strongly, is an av. Negifa lightly is an
לא, not
Nifas
למסכונת.
when he's standing. and
למסכונת, the גמורה, both of them is נגיחה. The Ava Amine was lightly. That was the Ava Amine. למסכונת is the same.
It's a good question.
If למסכונת,
According to that, if it transitions.
תרשי לי רגע לשים עד הסוף, ואז
שאלה חזקה,
תראה קשה.
שאלה חזקה.
So, אם למסכונת נגיפה, it's called נגיחה, it's the same, why did the Torah use נגיפה, which is a softer action, seems to be, than a stronger action? So, gotta be, שומע? תתחיל, שומע. אפשר להמשיך הלאה? No way להמשיך, או שאפשר להמשיך קצת? מה השאלה? לא, ספק הדורית על החומרה, בוא נמשיך. So, רבי ליאור, קשה לי רק להמשיך בחילה. So it gotta be, our issue is, אם נגיחה, it's נגיח. In the Ava Amine, it's softer, the Maskone, it is harder. It's not, it's the same. Why did the Torah call it נגיפה? So must be, נגיפה, it's softer. It must be something softer than נגיחה. This is what the Gemara says. Adam, it למזלה, בהמה, let למזלה, which means, Adam, since has mazal, in order to get him, you gotta do something stronger. Because it's a special category, יש לו מזל. But בהמה, let למזלה. So in order to get בהמה, you don't need to be as strong as Adam. So באמת, נגיחה for Adam and נגיחה for בהמה, it's two different actions. נגיחה for Adam is something harsh, not normal. נגיחה for בהמה, it's more normal. After 3 times of נגיפה of בהמה, the non-normal, it becomes נגיחה, which means becomes normal. Meaning, no, normal, what? The normally. נגיפה, it's not normal. Right? It's harsh. I know why it's a confusion. נגיפה means something that is not. נגיפה is something softer, which is actually easier to happen to animal. But after 3 times, it's becoming harsh. That's a behavior of the animal. By Adam, even by the first נגיחה, it's already harsh. By the third נגיחה by Adam, מה זה? Harsh, the same thing. Nothing really changed by Adam between the first נגיחה to it's always a harsh action. There is a special גזירת כתוב in the Torah, by the third one pays also כופר. But in essence, nothing changed. לכן, if somebody is מועד לאדם, this is רבינו מנחם, somebody is מועד לאדם, will he be מועד לבהמה? לא. Because by Adam, 3 times is מועד, is נוגח.
רבנו מנחם או רבנו רב פאפה?
רבנו מנחם, לפי רב פאפה.
אוקיי.
אתה מבלבל בזה. הכל פה לפי רב פאפה, לפי הספורט.
לא בסדר, רק...
לפי רבנו מנחם. So, רבנו מנחם says that according to רב פאפה, מועד לאדם אינו מועד לבהמה. למה? כי מועד לאדם is what? נגיחה. What's בהמה means? נגיפה. You cannot be מועד from נגיחה, which is harsh, to נגיפה that is soft. אבל as soon as מועד לאדם, עכשיו, מועד לבהמה, so let's put Adam on the side. מועד לבהמה means he gored בהמה 3 times, is not מועד לאדם. למה? Because girding בהמה 3 times is not as strong as girding Adam 3 times. It says Rabbeinu Menachem, in a case he's muad for both, so if he's muad le'adam and he's muad for behema, that means the negichot of Adam, of behema, join the negicha of Adam. Since the negicha of behema, kishon nagachu, join the negicha of Adam, it's a harsh show who behaves in a very harsh way. If you chozer from behema, and you're not chozer from Adam, you cannot change the status yet. Since the status of behema, joined, but now it joined to the status of Adam, it's nagach. Kishon nagachu. So that defines us, this animal from now on, it's a harsh show nagach. If he's not nogach behema, he's still considered as show nagach. It's a harsh show. So you cannot change his status. Because the status of behema linked to the status of Adam. So one way, it's easy. So the first part of Tosfot, חזרה מבהמה, it's not חזרה לאדם, למה? כי בהמה, as soon as gof becomes negicha, it's becoming part of the category of negicha of Adam. If you released it from behema, it still remain on the category of shor nagachu.
But they're equal.
Since it's shor nagach, since are the same, it's not equal.
If you're saying
it's joining to Adam. It's not equal.
But by the third time, we're saying it's the same level of aggression. Which
no,
means
it's not really the same level because he go 3 times by animal, we're giving it same status as Adam, but it's not really the same. Because animal, the first 2 was Igof, first 3 was Igof. By Adam, each one of them was harsh. So he get the same terminology in the Torah of negicha. So therefore, behema, who chazara, behema who gird Adam 3 times is nagach. If it girds behema 3 times, it becomes nagach like Adam. Nachon? Or shor nagach like Adam. If you change the category of behema, if it stops 3 times by behema, it still remains the categories because of Adam that is called shor, ve'im shor nagachu. Since it's shor nagach, we'll still pay נזק שלם. אני אגיד את הצד השני ואז אני אתן לך את הזמן. But says רבינו מנחם, the opposite. חזרה מאדם, we said, it's a good חזרה for Adam, although it's not חזרה for בהמה, נכון? מה זה להזכיס?
כן, בדיוק.
אבל חזרה מאדם לא הווה מועד לאדם, כי חזרה דאדם, חזרה היא, says תספס, you're right that Behema joining Adam. Behema will join the status of Adam only if you have Adam. But we all agree that Behema can be by itself Shor Nagach. Any Behema that gird 3 times becomes Shor Nagach. So he said, Chazara be'Adam, you can release the main category and it will be released completely. And Adam will not going to be Muad after 3 times. Yet the behema will be muad, because the behema gets the nagach a status by itself.
I thought it could status with Adam.
It's going to join the status of if the behema, if Adam is muad and you have behema with it.
Joins it, that's it. It's part already of
It's
that.
part of it. But it didn't join the status of Adam. Adam can be always independent. Adam can be not muad, and the behema will be muad. But you cannot have such a thing that behema, which was muad, part of Adam, will release his status not to be muad, where Adam remains muad. So, say it again. So I'm going to repeat everything in a few lines. So, Rabbi Nachman learns that the chidush of the Torah, that ki gof by behema, means that after 3 times of negifa, it's called negicha, it's called harsh. Called harsh meaning is negicha, which connected to Adam, in the same harsh Adam. So if you have a negicha by itself, has nothing to do with Adam, it will be negicha for animal, shor nagach, hakol beseder. But when you have Adam, it's linked to the status of Adam, since it's connected to the status of Adam, although you release the 3 times for behema, but it's still considered as a harsh, short. מה זה הראיה? שהוא נוגח אדם. So therefore you cannot release the status of בהמה. Since the harshness that you receive under the בהמה connected to Adam. But if you say the opposite,
You connect to בהמה.
בהמה connected to Adam.
Yeah.
Therefore, חזרה from בהמה will not going to be enough. But if you say the opposite, if חזר only מאדם, you can say because Adam can release his harshness because the original נגיחה is by Adam. He's not as harsh for Adam, but he can still harsh for בהמה. So therefore, חזרה מאדם will be חזרה. חזרה from בהמה will not be חזרה.
It won't be chazara even for. It wouldn't be chazara even for behema.
It wouldn't be חזרה מאדם לבהמה, לא.
Even for
Because,
behema.
yeah, because the בהמה is connected to Adam. Adam is never connected to בהמה. So Adam can change his status, it has nothing to do with בהמה. The בהמה is connected to Adam. So if it's harsh for Adam, and בהמה already connected to it, then he cannot change his status, only for בהמה, because it's still harsh. But if he's released the harsh from Adam, has no connection. בהמה will remain the status of בהמה.
So when Adam does chazara, he is chazar le'Adam, but he's still muad for the
For the בהמה, exactly. Because it's not as harsh for Adam, it's not as higher level harsh for Adam, but it's still harsh for בהמה. שלמה?
If after 3 times it goes to the status of nagach, right? Then you could say muad le'behema is muad le'Adam. Because now it's on the status of man.
Yeah, but,
Yeah,
okay,
but
that's what I'm
even
saying.
one
That
hit
makes
on
sense.
Adam is
No.
negicha.
Because the
but
status...
it
לא, לא, לא,
once it
לא, לא,
gets-
שאלה טובה. The
What was the
status,
question? מה הייתה השאלה?
if after by בהמה it's become like the status of Adam, it's not ממש like the status of Adam. Because,
No, it changes the words, nagach.
נכון,
Now it's on the
but
status
it's
of Adam.
נגח of driven from נגיפה. By Adam נגח is driven from נגיחות. By בהמה נגח is driven from נגיפות. It's a lower status of נגח.
Rabbi, in the
Right, but
Torah,
after the 3rd time it's on the status of negicha. So now let's say it hits a 4th time. A 4th time, now we're going to charge him the same as we would pay as
For Adam or for
it
בהמה?
would be the same chumrah as Adam.
You're right. Payment-wise, yeah, that's why it links
so
to
muad-
Adam.
So now you could say muad lebehema is muad le'Adam.
No, because by the end of the day, less than Adam.
No,
בהמה it is. We're
once he
giving
hits the
it...
status of the 3rd
Yeah,
time,
that's the chidush of the
same
Torah.
level.
This is where the chidush of the Torah comes. That I'm going to connect it to the status. But in essence, it's different. Since I connected to the status, therefore, חזרה מאדם, זה going to be חזרה, you connected. But the actual fact, somebody הורג בהמה, is not going to affect Adam. It's all different times. Somebody, logically, if somebody softer 3 times, is not like somebody who's harsh 3 times. Different types of one.
Well, it's like we have a
the last-
it's almost like a
כדי שלא מסיים,
And then
תחי לו,
in the last part of Rabbeinu Menachem, right? He said lo havim chazara me'adam lo havim muad le'Adam, right? It's only for Adam, so he still has the status of behemot.
חזרה
He still
לאדם,
has the status of muad lebehemot.
יפה. It's only חזרה for אדם.
Nachon, but how are you going to explain that when he says shaya muad lekol, which is Adam, Chamor, and Zeh, right?
Okay, I didn't get that's before רבנו
No, that's
מנחם?
Rabbeinu Menachem.
לא, אדם
לא.
מועד להכל,
זה
3 times אדם, 3 times בהמה.
No, muad
לא,
lekol
זה
is...
before, איפה אתה? לא,
זה
זה
לפני, זה
before,
לפני
זה
רבנו
before
מנחם.
רבנו מנחם.
זה לפני
אוקיי.
רבנו
לא, ואמר רבנו מנחם פירש דהכי כאמר מועד לאדם שהיה מועד לכל.
איך
מה זה
נהיה
מועד
מועד
לכל?
לכל? לא, 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 לא,
מועד
לא
לכל
מחייב.
זה
לא,
אדם,
לא, לא,
חמור
לא,
וגמל.
הוא אמר לאדם, ואז הוא נהפך מועמד לבהמה. 3 times אדם, 3 times בהמה.
How does everyone
לא, מועד
understand
לכל though is...
להכל, לאדם ולבהמה. 3 times אדם, 3
נכון,
times בהמה.
according to Rav Papa, it's one Adam, 2 behemot.
That's one way to explain. לפי רבנו חניה, I don't need to get to it.
And Rabbeinu, so you're saying
It was
according
מועד
to
לכל,
Rabbeinu
3
Menachem,
times
it's-
אדם, 3 times בהמה.
Oh.
We'll explain תוספת in a minute.
Okay, אז הרב, you said נגיפה and נגיחה are really, you asked, well, why are we calling it נגיפה if it's the same thing? So I've said, no, it's not the same thing. Still, נכון? That was the answer. Can we say, really, they are the same thing, נכון?
זה נראה לי שאלה שלא חשובה להבנה, נכון? יש
זה-
לי כמה דקות, 5 דקות. אפשר
נראה לי
אחר כך?
שכן, אבל
אבל
בסדר.
אני לא צריך לסיים. לא, אתה יכול להחזיק את זה.
בעזרת השם.
Amen. Okay, so now go back to Tosfot. The Tosfot said, the first part of Tosfot is that Chazara, Adam, Behema, Gamal. We said, if he's Muad LaBehema means, Davka LaBehema is not Muad LaAdam. If he's Muad to Adam, Chamor, Shor וחמור, שור, חמור, חמור, שור. שור וחמור, okay. So, אם נגח אדם שור וחמור, that will create a חזקה and it will be muad. And we ask Shaila, they are different, נכון? If they are different, why would that create a muad? But what's a muad means by an animal?
Going to gore.
3 times of gore become harsh. So meaning after 3 times of animals it become harsh. Why it's not like Adam?
It's only harsh to animals.
Because
It's only harsh to animals.
it's harsh to animals, right? It's softer by the softness of Behema is not going to be the same as Adam. The only reason Adam is different only because of why? Because Adam is harsh, nachon? But what am I trying to achieve over here? I'm trying to get a chazaka that this Behemot will guard also men. The fact that Adam is harsher, maybe such a word?
Yeah.
Okay. The fact that Adam is harsher doesn't mean that he cannot join for the chazaka. We understood that Adam is different category. Yesh lo mazala is something else. No, it's harsher. Which means if a gourd was matzliach to gourd Adam, it's a harder thing to do. So if he was able to do something hard and 2 things that are easy, mitztaref to get a chazaka. The only reason chazaka of Behema is not chazaka of Adam, because you're talking about 3 soft actions cannot affect Adam. Because 3 softs becoming harsh. If you have Adam, what's Adam from the beginning is nagach. Adam called nagach, you have a harsh with him.
You need 3 of those.
So 1 Adam, 1 show, 1 gamal, you combine to be harsh even to Adam. Because Adam is harsh from day 1.
It's like a formula. If you have 1 nagach by Adam and 2 negifot by animals, you can have nagach even by Adam.
Exactly. Because Adam begins on nagach.
So you're saying
if
the
you don't
That
mind,
answered his question.
if you don't mind, I want to finish and then I'll answer your question because I have 3-4 minutes. So that's the pshat. That's the pshat in Tosfot. That's pshat in Tosfot. That's why you can understand Tosfot. So now, I want to answer the question so the Gemara will help it out. The fundamental question, למה לקרוא סברה הוא, נכון? It's not svara. The only svara that you have different types of animal within it. That gdolim it's different than ktanim, נכון? Shor is different than chamor. But to know that Adam, from the first negicha, it's harsh, at the 3rd negicha of Behema, that cannot be svara. That's a chidush of the Torah. Negicha. You need the Torah lechadesh the difference between what happened by Adam, what happened by animals. So there is no svara bichlal. Now I feel there is no question. You know when I ask. So we start with what אומר? We started with Takashi. Why negifa? The Ava meaning we said negifa called something else, nachon? And if it's called something else, how do we know that if negicha, I need pasuk for negicha, what do I know that I need pasuk for negifa? Why, I asked, why we don't need pasuk? What's negifa? The pshat is, when the Gemara had Ava Amina that negifa called Av by itself, what's the meaning of the Gemara? That negicha of an animal, it's an Av by itself. Negifa, I'm sorry. Of an animal, the Gemara understood it's an Av by itself. We understood the Gemara says negifa will be Av bifnei atzmo, meaning different action to be an Av. But no, the Gemara understood the whole time. After we know that Parasha says the end of by Kigach, we ask after the answer, meaning the answer is telling you that negifa is Igach, nachon? If so, why did Gemara ask at the beginning that negifa will be Av by itself? You know it's negicha. So the answer is, yeah, we know it's negicha. But since we know negifa, it's something different, action, then negicha of a human being, of a man, let's give it a category by itself as 2 types of negichot. Negicha of Adam will be 1 type, and negifa of Behema, which is negicha, will be another type.
What pasuk? You said that it needs like a pasuk.
No, so the premise of the question that you need a pasuk was that negicha means something else. We assume the Gemara says Negifa, I'm sorry, Negifa, yeah, Negicha is Keren, Negifa Letzev, it's Av by itself, nachon?
No, but if you say
So, but the Gemara says it's Av by itself, it bothers me. Why the Gemara didn't say which Av you want it to be? What's the actions? The question is, I think we understood it wrong. The question is, it's not that Negifa will be something else. Negifa, it's also Negicha, it's the same. As we're learning it from the Pasuk. But since this is for animal, and this is for men, let's have two categories. One Av for men, and one Av for Behema. That was so. The Gemara, even at the premise, the Gemara understood that it's the same action. It's not the new Av. It's the same thing. So that's what the Av mean in the Gemara. Since it's the same thing, let's call one for men and one for women. What's the answer of the Gemara? One for Behema. The answer of the Gemara is... The Gemara said, the answer of the Gemara was, the Gemara is, no, I Negicha, Negifai. Meaning, now by the Gemara, it's more. Negifa means Negicha. So since by the end of the day, Negifa will reach the status of Negicha, it's the same thing. If it's the same thing by the end of the day, why we call Negifa Negicha? To teach you that Adam it lemazala, it's hard.
Still the Havamina, that's only the Maskana that you know that it's the same thing I'm saying in the Havamina. There's no like initial reason to say it should be its own Av part
for animals. For animals, no, but for animals, it's not on Av like random thing. Negicha for animals, Negicha for human beings. That's what the Gemara didn't say which type of its own Av going to be. Because the Gemara understood the answer from the beginning. That Negifa, since it says in the Pasuk with Negicha, it's got to be Negicha. The Shiloh is, let's have a separate Av. The Gemara answer, no, it's not separate. Since we end off with Negicha, that means Negifa, it's also Negicha, so it's not separate. If it's the same thing, why? The Torah wrote it on a different word to teach you that Adam is hard, yesh lo mazala, and Negifa, let la mazala. So we ask, why milta agavocha komash malan? Because the main din over here is not to be mechadesh that muad la-adam is not muad la-behema. This is a sign. That's milta agavocha komash malan. The main thing is to understand the fundamental difference between Adam, that Negicha, and Behema it's called Negifa, is something softer. Milta agavocha komash malan, that's muad la-adam. It's better. The lashon of Rabbeinu Menachem doesn't fit into the words of the Gemara. Nachon? Muad le'adam have muad le'behema. Fits in the Gemara? We didn't read it. Muad le'adam have it is with the muad le'behema. That's how we explain the Torah. When Adam is muad, the categories of the behema it's contained within the categories of muad le'adam. Muad le'adam, מה זה have? Contain in it the muad labema. Muad labema doesn't contain in it the muad of the Adam. So in the Torah, the muad of the Behema contain the muad, the Adam contain the muad of Behema. The muad of Behema does not contain the muad of Adam. Please, Rabbi, say try to do Chazorah. I know it's